What's up, everybody? This is Chris Sarai bringing another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. On today, we're going to tackle a pretty difficult subject. We're going to talk about illegal immigrants and migration and all that type of thing. We're going to start off the show talking about a migrant or a young man from Guatemala that was over here. We don't honestly know if he was an illegal migrant or not, so I'm not going to make that claim. We're going to talk about him as he has died when he got hit when there was a ICE raid over in California. So we're going to talk about ICE and raiding a little bit when we talk about this story. And after that, we're going to dive into illegal immigrants and illegal immigrant drivers. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how they're getting their driver's license. And we're also going to talk about a very serious story that happened over in Florida about an illegal migrant who got his CDL over here in California and was driving around and decided he was going to make a horrible U-turn that cost the lives of 3 people. So let's jump straight into it. First story we're going to talk about is ICE. And of course, as everybody knows, ICE has been doing serious raids all over California. I think they're doing ICE raids all over the country, but it's serious out here in California. And in one incident, when ICE was doing a raid, a gentleman passed away or got into an accident. So we're going to check out that story and just, do a little storyline on ICE and the whole ICE raid situation going on out here in California.
And it's happening right now. People are gathering at a vigil in Monrovia for a 52-year-old Guatemalan man who was hit and killed by an SUV trying to get away from ICE. That is a live picture from Air 7 over the scene at this Home Depot where he was as ICE descended on him. And as supporters are calling for an end to the continued immigration raids in our area, the momentum is building on this one, and Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter is live in Monrovia with more following this tragic loss. Leanne.
Yeah, David, so many gathering here tonight say this is a senseless tragedy that never should have happened. You can see the large crowd that has turned out here in front of the Home Depot right along Mountain Avenue here in Monrovia. Everyone turning out because they want to honor the 52-year-old father and husband and because they want to demand an end to the immigration raids. The tragic death of a day laborer running from an ICE raid outside a Monrovia Home Depot sparking outrage from activists and area residents.
These people are looking for a job and all of a sudden someone loses their life.
52-year-old Carlos Montoya was struck and killed after he ran onto the 210 freeway as ICE agents swept into the parking lot, detaining more than a dozen people. Friends say the father and husband, who's from Guatemala, was simply trying to provide for his family as a handyman.
Es un muchacho muy noble.
He says Montoya was a noble, charismatic man who liked to help people. Fellow day laborers and community members gathering for a vigil outside the store and calling for the immediate end to the immigration raids.
If the goal is to say that we have failed at strengthening and securing the border, well, that's not the people at the Home Depot's fault. It's the people that are supposed to be doing their job at the border.
So real quick, I'm just going to speak on what she said. Well, I mean, the whole thing is that, if the people were doing their jobs on the border correctly, that would stop illegal migrants from coming in. Yeah, I totally agree with that. But the fact that the illegal migrants are here, what are you going to do about that problem? See, because you're trying to say that, the problem stopped at the border and it's not a problem that they're here illegally. And that in itself is a problem because of the word illegal. And, I am an avid person to think that if you are a legal migrant and you know that these things are going on, then it's time for you to become a legal migrant. And there's many ways to do that. They've set up several ways to do that all around California. Lots of friends I know have done it the right way to get their citizenship and stay here. So there's definitely ways for them to do that. But you cannot say that, if the border didn't stop them from coming in, then it's okay that they're here. Okay?
And the Department of Homeland Security says that there was no one who was being pursued by agents at that time. The investigation continuing into Montoya's death, the CHP doing that. Again, you can see how many people have gathered here. This certainly has touched a nerve and affected so many in the community. Reporting live in Monrovia, Lee Hyun Suter, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Yeah. And of course, condolences to that gentleman and his family for their loss. Don't want to be crass or anything like that. And I openly admit I'm not a big fan of the ICE raid just simply for this, because it's creating so much fear for the people that live around here in California, and so much stress and problems for the people. But the fact is that if you are an illegal migrant, it's time for you to fix that problem and become legal and not have to deal with this. Now, I know that there's cases where people who have been legal migrants and have been here and have been detained and deported, and those circumstances are few and far between. But obviously, Trump has decided that this illegal migrant situation is a big problem for us, and he has done pretty much anything and everything to tackle it. And I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem if it's people are losing their lives because of it. There shouldn't be people losing their lives for it. Definitely should be a problem that should be tackled and taken care of. And of course it's not going to be an easy fix, because the borders were open for so long and allowed for so many people to come over illegally, that it's going to be a problem. There's no doubt about that. And I don't want to sit here and say that, there's a lot of great people here that are illegal migrants. And for those people who are not committing crimes as an illegal migrant or doing things that we'll talk about here later on in the show, when it comes to coming over and doing it the right way, I don't have any problems with that. But if you're doing it the wrong way, and you're coming over as an illegal migrant and you're just trying to escape the system and not trying to do it the right way and become legal, then it is a problem, and you need to be held accountable, just like any other person who's doing something illegally. It's that word, illegally. If you're doing something illegal, when I was a criminal and I did something illegally, I got in trouble. I went to jail. I did time or whatever it was, and my thing is that I don't like the ICE raids, because I understand the mentality. Because of course I was a young man a long time, and back when I was a kid, we had this thing called the Jump Out Boys, and they was frequent around where I lived. And of course, when the Jump Out Boys jumped out, everybody took off running. If you were illegal or not, you took off running. And bad things can happen when that happens. I mean, I don't know if they even said if this gentleman was an illegal migrant, or I don't even think they broached it in this news story. So, it's just one of those things where, I understand the idea of being afraid that something's going to happen to you because of the fact that some legal migrants have been deported. But there's that situation that we're still continuously dealing with, where we have a massive population of illegal migrants, and that's got to be dealt with some way, somehow. And Trump has decided that ICE raids is the way to go. I'm not the biggest fan, because it's causing a lot of problems, but it's a problem that needs to be fixed. All right, so let's keep going. So next up, we're going to check out one of my absolutely favorite YouTubers, podcasters, O'Shea Duke Jackson. I checked out this story a couple days ago, and it coincides with our final story, which is a big story that everybody's pretty much heard of at this point. But O'Shea did a little story where he was talking about illegal migrants and their ability to obtain CDL driver's licenses, and it truly goes into the main topic of today's show, and the accident that happened over in Florida where the illegal migrant ran into the other people. So let's check out O'Shea's beautifully done rendition of a story about illegal migrants getting their driver's license. And we're going to start it from the beginning. We're not going to watch the whole video, but we're going to watch a majority of it until he gets to a point where he's talking more about the young lady who got fired. But let's check this out real quick.
Mom, and she started complaining about something. I thought she was complaining about somebody at the store or just whatever. You know, mom's always complaining. And she started talking to me about the driving issue
I ended up having to call my mom after I watched this. O'Shea is a great YouTuber.
in California. And I'm like, driving issue? And she was like, yeah, these foreigners that's moving here, they can't drive at all. So I'm like,
What?
I had no idea what she was thinking about until I started really asking her, what do you mean foreigners? She's complaining about people making like rash decisions on the road, deeming it very dangerous for her to drive and other people on the road. And then I ended up finding this.
An illegal immigration driver's licensing scheme has been busted in Florida. The DMV workers were arrested for selling non-domicile CDL driver's license to illegal citizens. According to officials, over 1,000 licenses were sold to non-citizens with no training, testing, or vetting.
Is this the epitome of telling us that it's all about the money? And it's like Anton Daniels always say, just follow the money. Because we have to understand that this illegal immigrant situation, the illegal migration situation, it's all about money. It's all about bringing people in so they can buy stuff, so they can do these type of things and make money off these illegal migrants, charge them more than they would charge standardly the regular American. It's all about the money, guys. We always got to remember that.
Now, even though we're in California, this is the state of Florida. And this lady is talking about a scam or a scheme in which people were basically committing fraud to get CDL licenses to drive trucks. Now, just imagine the danger if a person gets a CDL with no training to drive a big rig that's carrying all kinds of goods and services on a truck, and that person can't drive. And then that person yeah, that's all bad, okay? That's thousands of dollars of money wasted, maybe even a load of millions of dollars, and then a lot of carnage, and then death and all kind of problems. It presents a huge safety hazard to the American public. And this is happening in Florida, and it was happening for a long time. Then I came across this particular situation.
How did it work? What was going on?
The undocumented workers would come into the office in groups. They would provide them either permits or driver's license illegally. So they will bypass without even taking the test.
How much?
$200 a person.
Up to 5 times a day, she says.
Was this an everyday thing?
Almost, yes.
I first reported on the driver's license fraud investigation in April after getting my hands on one of the state's revocation letters. We learned the transportation cabinet sent more than 1,500 of them in 5 months, telling drivers their license was issued in error and must be returned or they could be criminally charged. At the time, state officials confirmed at least 2 terminations, and ongoing state and federal investigations focused on the NIA Center in West Louisville and the E-Town license branch. But they denied all of our records requests, withholding 2,300 documents on the fraud. Mormon's story fills in the blank.
So you have this black woman that lives in Louisville, Kentucky, and she's describing a scam in which illegal immigrants or migrants are basically getting their driver's license without taking the test. But wait, there's more.
I found out it may have been going on for a couple of years before it was found out.
We're told it wasn't as simple as people getting state-issued driver's license or permits without taking the test. She says 2 of her colleagues at the NIA Center approached her with a business venture, asking if she wanted to get in on the scheme.
I was asked to bring certain customers in, and they are brought in to me without signing in. And you would scan their documents as usual.
Documents made to look legitimate, like birth certificates and social security cards, according to the letter she wrote to the state. But a key to pulling off this scheme was making sure the required Homeland Security screening was never run.
I start getting these emails saying, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this?
And that's where it unraveled. She says those workers were using her login, a password she says her bosses made her share, as all workers at the driver's license branch did not have their own. And Moorman was training to be.
So this particular lady, she was the whistleblower on this, all right? And she was explaining to people about, listen, what's going on is wrong. I've heard that this scheme has been going on for at least 2 years. But at the same time, she was forced to share her password. Now, not only with people, but the management. What's happening is, as she's sharing her password, they find out about what's going on. And they link whatever orders are going on for these particular driver's licenses, and they link it to her. So she is terminated. And now she is out there trying to fight for her job back because she was the whistleblower. Now, when I read this, I was in shock. It's going all over the country, and many.
Okay, so yeah, we're just gonna pretty much stop it right there. So yeah, and he's gonna go into a story about her being a whistleblower and getting fired for helping these people out. And my whole thing is that how many? This is Kentucky. This is based off in Kentucky, and we have to come to some realization that if this is happening in Kentucky at this major way over what 2,300 documents it said, think about California, think about Florida, think about all these other cities and states that have these opportunities to make these extra dollars off of these migrants by doing these type of things, by giving them driver's licenses without them passing the correct test, giving them, letting them bypass the Homeland Security situation. And of course, this is what would bring you to the point where you would be like, okay, well, we can understand to some degree, why Trump is going so hard on illegal migrants, because this could, create so many problems for everybody. If you are sitting here and putting several thousands of drivers on the road that are not ready to be on the road, you're just opening the road for mass destruction. And we're going to see that in the next story. But it's just, for me, it's just a situation where we have to understand that the illegal migrant situation has been brought on to such a degree for profit, for a ability for other people who can use this information or use these situations to make more money. These people use this young lady, used her position at these driver's license to make themselves roughly $1,000 a day off illegal migrants. And then you have to think of, if they're doing this illegal thing, the migrant knows that they're doing something illegal. So you have to think that the migrant himself is paying some additional amount of money to make this happen. No, they're not doing it for, it's going to double up. It's going to be a situation where lots of people are going to use this to make money. And it's paramount that for us, we have to understand that the illegal migrant situation is more than just people taking jobs. It's putting people at risk. When it comes to this, when it comes to giving illegal migrants CDLs that haven't trained how to drive these trucks, that don't read English, so they don't know what the signs are saying, this puts everybody around the world and on our highways at risk, which is going to bring us to our last story. So recently, over in Florida, a gentleman, an illegal migrant, and he not from Mexico, but an illegal migrant, had his CDL and he was doing a delivery in his semi truck, and he decided he was going to make this massive U-Haul that ended the lives of 3 people. Now, this is a pretty. Everybody's heard this story. This story's been going on for quite some time. There's been a couple of revelations, so we're going to go to the latest revelation and see what they're saying. Let's check it out. This ain't it.
Officials say the illegal immigrant truck driver who allegedly caused a deadly crash in Florida could not speak English, yet he somehow obtained commercial driver's licenses in 2 sanctuary states, Washington and California. Video shows a minivan slamming into a semi-truck driven by that illegal immigrant. It is just harrowing video there. It's horrific to watch. He's accused of trying to make a reckless U-turn.
Look at his face. When I first saw this, I was looking at the guy, and it's like he didn't realize what happened or just didn't care. But look at his face. He's oblivious to what happened. Let's keep watching.
Turn across 3 lanes on a highway, and that crash killed 3 people inside that minivan. Here's Republican Congressman Brian Mast of Florida.
It could have been stopped if the right policies would have been adhered to. And of course, California doesn't adhere to those policies. Obviously, in California, they're more than happy to not really examine these individuals to see if they can actually even speak the language for the roads that they're about to drive on.
Investigators with the Transportation Department gave the suspect an English proficiency test. And Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said this: the driver failed the assessment, providing correct responses to just 2 of the 12 verbal questions and only accurately identifying 1 of 4 highway traffic signs. Senior.
And we just did a story about how they, the new rules on you having to know how to read English before you get a driver's license. And why did they come out with that rule? It's simple. We're coming up with all these things and coming with all these realizations that when it comes to driving, the most common thing that causes a death on our roads and highways are other people. Other people not being able to read signs, other people not obeying the traffic laws that they're supposed to learn before they're given their driver's license. Crazy.
Correspondent Jonathan Seri with more on this development. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, Aisha. Harjinder Singh, that 28-year-old truck driver, is expected back in Florida later this week to face state charges of vehicular homicide. He's currently being held without bond in California. He had appeared for an extradition hearing in Joaquin County. He agreed to sign paperwork for his extradition during that hearing. He relied on an interpreter to explain the proceedings to him. The truck driver's understanding of English and road signs is central to the investigation into last week's fatal crash on Florida's Turnpike because he is accused of ignoring an official use only sign while attempting that U-turn across the divided highway.
That should have never happened. He should have never been here. He certainly shouldn't have gotten a commercial driver's license from California.
The DOT says it's investigating whether California acted within federal guidelines when it issued Singh a limited term CDL in 2024. The agency says Washington state did violate federal guidelines by issuing him a full-term CDL the previous year, 2023. Additionally, the agency says New Mexico authorities apparently failed to perform a mandatory English language skills assessment during a roadside inspection they conducted earlier this year. Now, Singh worked for a California-based trucking company called White Hawk Carriers. According to DOT records, its insurance has been revoked. We reached out to the company for comment. We're waiting a call back. Aisha?
Okay, Jonathan Seri live for us. Jonathan, thank you.
Certainly.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my...
I mean, guys, it's just a horrible situation when people die on our highways and streets, and it's hard to know what to say when things like this happen. I mean, obviously, with the story that O'Shea did, this is proof that is happening worldwide or state, in the U.S. as it were. It's got to happen to have happened over in California, over in Washington, because there's no way for this man to have been able to get his CDLs anywhere. Can't speak the language, can't read the signs. How is this possible? He had to be greasing pockets to get his CDLs, just like over in Kentucky. And this is bad. This is bad for everybody. This is just this, and the fact that it's gone on for so long. This gentleman had got his in 2023, it said. So he's had it for a couple of years. He's been on our highways for a couple of years. Nobody knows. Nobody said anything. If he would have got pulled over, that's another question. I mean, he doesn't speak English that well. If he would have got pulled over and somebody was talking to him, he didn't speak English, would that be a problem? Now, standardly, no, they would just call an interpreter, but he had to have a driver's license. This man's going to pull out a driver's license, which he shouldn't have. This is bad, guys. This is bad. This is one of those situations where we sit here and we talk about all the ways to keep ourselves safe on our streets and highways, and we have to understand that the most common thing that causes an accident and causes death on our highways is human error. And is it human error that allowed this gentleman to get his CDLs and drive on our highways for 2 years? No, I don't think it is human error. I think it's greed. I think it was somebody trying to line their pockets with not only our money, but illegal immigrants' money. Skirting under the line to get them CDLs so they can get jobs, so they can put money into the economy, but it's still illegal. And now we know it's deadly. This is a problem that has to be dealt with, and we understand that Trump is kind of dealing with this problem with the ICE raids and the illegal migration situations he's setting up to stop or to remove illegal migrants from here. And this is a reason why. This has got to be concrete evidence why it is important that the illegal migrant situation is tackled and taken care of. Now, do I agree with the ICE raids? Not entirely. I understand that you have to get out there. You have to find out who the illegal migrants are. You have to make sure that the other people know that they're illegal migrants so that they'll be forced to go through the process to become legal migrants. That is fine. If you need to deport them so they have the time to do whatever they need to do to get back over here, that is fine. But this is the reason why we have to tackle the illegal migrant situation. To keep ourselves safe from not only people like this that come over and cause accidents that will kill us, but people who will come over the borders with bad intentions. Because there's people, illegal migrants here, definitely, that have bad intentions or just don't care. So, my friends, we just have to understand that, as much as we want to help our brothers and sisters from overseas that have come over here in dire situations and got here in dire conditions, we have to help them become legal. We cannot continue to sit here and say it's okay for them to be illegal migrants, because technically then they're criminals. And if they can call them criminals, then they can be treated like criminals. And you don't want to be treated like a criminal. So just remove the illegal from your name, and it'll be better life for you here. Alright guys, I'm alone. Get up out of here. It was a pleasure as always. Of course, I'm going to put the credits in the description so you can check out O'Shea's video about the young lady who got fired for snitching on the migrants. And we just got to try to take care of ourselves as best we can. Alright, I'm out of here. Please hit the like, share, subscribe button. Hit me in the DMs if you have any questions. I am Chris Surratt. This is the Car Concierge Show, and I'm out. Peace.